Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam. Let's get screening.
And joining us in the basement is writer and director Joe Lam, here to talk about his feature film, The Fetus, starring Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2's Bill Moseley and Terrifier 2's Lauren Lavera.
The Fetus is about a young couple who discovers their unborn child might just be a demon. Please welcome Joe Lam to the basement. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Casey, Sam. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. Congrats on the movie. It's hitting when this drops, The Fetus will be out. Is that correct, Casey?
Yes, that will
Yes.
be will be correct. This will be out for people to feast their eyes on, and what a movie to feast their eyes on, Joe. This has been a long time coming. We've been hearing about this movie for a while. So if people don't know about The Fetus, what is this movie? What is this movie all about? And where did the original concept for this movie come from?
Yeah, great question, Casey. It's really about a couple they become unexpectedly pregnant, and their relationship is, not quite solid. And what happens is it's not a normal human fetus. It's a half human, half demonic fetus with a thirst for blood. And so this thing is going around attacking people and drinking their blood, and they have to figure out how to deal with the situation because it's life-threatening, but that's at the same time they start to realize that, if with the right parentage, this thing could actually grow and become good. And so that's some of the dilemma that occurs in the story. It's a moral dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this movie, it's wild. It goes on so many twists and turns. A lot of it is filmed like specifically in this cabin in the middle of the woods. It looks like it was shot on location. Where did you find that location? How did you where did you go to shoot this movie?
Yeah, it was in Pennsylvania, Tafton.
Okay.
And Scranton. Scranton is where they filmed The Office, that TV show.
Yeah.
And I'm all about just reality. I'm not a big fan of green screen CGI. Of course, we had to use some of that in the movie because there are some impossible things that occur in the story that we just couldn't get around unless we had like just a massive budget. Then you could do it all on set, like Christopher Nolan style. But we did the best to blend everything together, and a lot of people don't even realize that we had a green screen studio shoot, which is nice to hear.
Yeah, I think what your movie does so well, and it comes up to the topic of practical effects versus CGI computer generated effects, and horror fans obviously they're like, give me everything practical, and sometimes you can't do that. And I think what your movie does so well is you blend the two where it feels so seamless. Can you talk us through both working on set with practical physical items, physical effects, and then working in the editing process on the special effects, the computer generated effects?
Well, we have a great team in terms of special effects, makeup artists, and puppeteers. And the puppeteers are the ones that receive the creatures in advance, and they had these long green sticks on it to just animate it, and like they had to like pull these switches and levers and all sorts of mechanics. Then I just kind of had to get out of their way and let them do their work.
Yeah.
Because I puppeteered one thing with one of our production designers. This was before the team from Mexico, the puppeteers, arrived. We just had to get the shot because of logistics, and it's not as great as what they did. And we were doing it a lot. I was doing it too fast. When you do something too fast with creatures, it's a little too jarring. So when they came on, everything was smooth. It was, to me, I thought it was a little bit slow, but later on I realized if they went fast, they would have had the issues that me and the other crew member had when we were doing the puppeteering. So Yeah, but luckily we just chose the right takes for what what we did. But most of their stuff was pretty good, and it was very tricky because sometimes like the arm would like get stuck like this. Like, oh no, we can't like lift it up, so they'd have to go and try to fix it and all these things. Or the makeup, right? Some of the makeup that was on there, I'm not gonna say what kind of makeup because it would actually
Yeah.
spoil it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, we actually had Lauren running, and I'm spoiling a little bit right now, and do a tumble, and then it got, some of the makeup got a little messed up, and then it would spend like 45 minutes fixing all this stuff on her, So it's just things like that, or what can happen when you're dealing with special effects, prosthetics, and creatures.
Yeah. So how much did you work with the people that were like creating these puppets and the makeup effects in like actually developing the look of both like the fetus and then like you said some other makeup effects that kind of happened throughout? How much input were you putting into that?
Well, we have someone named Alex Rojas. He's a two-time winner of it's called the like the equivalent of the Oscars in Colombia.
Okay.
And he won it back to back. And he's the one that designed all the creatures and most of the prosthetics. And he would just draw them and send them to me. And I'm like, and most of the time, like his first instincts were spot on. I'm like, this is great because I've seen a lot of times where you have a creature and it's like they try to make it so scary and frightening that it almost like there's a detachment. It's too foreign, it's too alien. Like I can't connect with it, or it just keeps looking like the same kind of monsters that are out there that we've seen so many times. And what he did was he did the blend of like it looks part human and it looks like part demon. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect because then the characters have to they have to either reject or accept it. And if it's something too grotesque and foreign, then it's just that like automatically anybody would reject that. So then you just lose that moral dilemma that I was talking about earlier. And he would then go to, after I approved the drawings, then he would just go ahead and, carve something out where it was like a clay or something like that. And then show me the photo of that. And I said, oh, make adjustments here and there. And then they would go and make the molds. And then they would put on the animatronics or whatever else they had to do. And so it was a pretty involved process. And the timeline was so short from when we decided to film to when we started with him that I actually had to myself personally fly to Colombia, go to his warehouse, pick up all the stuff, go right back to the US. And then from there, like 2 days later, go to Pennsylvania. So it was,
Jeez.
yeah,
Crazy.
It was rough.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, and I suppose too there were quite a few different molds because like the fetus changes over the course of the movie. Like the first time you see it is not, necessarily where it is by the third act. So yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I want to talk a little bit about, because you said this was a fast turnaround for the movie. I want to talk a little bit about the overall original concept and then casting process for the movie, because you have two horror icons people recognize from, like I said, Bill Moseley from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and House of a Thousand Corpses, and then you have Lauren Levera obviously in the Terrifier movies nowadays. What was it like getting them on board for the project for the fetus?
Well, yeah, to answer your first question, you're talking about the concept of
Yeah.
this, right? Which is I wanted to see something that I hadn't seen before. I'm not the type of filmmaker that just wants to just create and like, oh, I feel good that I'm putting something out into the world and I'm making something. I wanted to advance the genre, the genre of horror. And I kept thinking, what haven't I seen before? Because a lot of times I see the villain and whatever it is, it's a force of evil or a ghost or an alien, and it's going after humans. So it's like there's always this separation. All right, one's chasing the other, and you see if they tramp or they don't. And I thought, what if that force was inside of you, and you had to decide again, what you're gonna do with it, how you're gonna handle it, and if it's gonna transform you or not, and who wants it, who doesn't want it, right? Like all the power plays with it. And I rarely had seen something that was like ejecting out of a woman and then going back in, and it's like, oh, like, okay, I'm just trying to deal with that in normal life, right? And not only that, it's a danger to other people, and I wanted to see it practically as well. But getting on board, Bill, he was our first choice. I'm sorry, he was our top 3 choice. We got him because he read the script. He literally said within 3 hours, he said yes to the project. And he was just great to work with, total professional. So I did not have to rehearse with him, didn't have to give him much direction. He took the character, he decided what he wanted to do with the character, and I let him. I didn't get in the way of what he wanted to do. And then for Lauren, that was our second casting, and we went through 7,500 actresses to find her. Damn. And when her audition tape came in, self-tape, she was so dialed in to the role. There was no ramping up. There was no trying to figure out who this character is. It was just emotion and a powerhouse right from the get-go. And I just thought, wow, like, to me, it was an absolute yes. But at the same time, my analytical mind was like, let's just go through everyone else just to, process everything, But yeah, she was head and shoulders, not to say, the others were bad in any way, but again, she was just so dialed in. She knew exactly what the character needed for just that short scene that she was performing.
Yeah. Was that before or after like Terrifier 2 had come out and kind of like launched her into, she's kind of a big scream queen now. Was that before or after those movies that you casted her?
It was before.
Before? Yeah.
Terrifier 2 hit right after we finished filming. We finished
wow.
the end of August of 2022. And then it was September or October. Yeah. That's when Terrifier 2.
Yeah,
that's
like
awesome.
you said in her audition, I mean, in this movie, she's a powerhouse and giving it 110% the entire runtime of the movie. I mean, she's truly incredible. Everyone's really, really great in this movie. What's some of the things you like working directly with actors? What are some of the challenges of working with them? But what are some of the give and take aspects that you as the director and writer really enjoy about working with actors?
It's when they just understand what's written on the page, and I don't have to explain it to them.
Yeah.
So if I've done my job as a writer and someone else can interpret it and they know exactly what to do because they understand it. For example, Julian Curtis, he has a lot of humor in this movie that not every actor understood. So when they sent in their self-tape auditions, some of them were very serious about the material, and the comedy just went over their head. And while they could have been great for the role, I was going for that blend because this is such an outlandish situation that the characters are going through that to me, like, the audience needed some levity, some humor in it. Otherwise, it's just like if you go into this movie, expecting like Schindler's List, it's not, you know what I mean? But a movie like that is actually funny too. Schindler's List has a lot of humorous moments, sprinkled in, and it's hidden. It's called situational humor, and Julian Curtis was just able to pick up on that and just nail it without going overboard. He just towed the line just right. And so I love when actors just understand what's written on the page, and I don't have to really give them much. I just tell them, hey, rehearse your scene before we film, and then we'll just place the cameras accordingly, based off of what you guys are doing. So I like to go actor first in that regards.
Yeah. One of the like biggest for me comedic moments is the initial like meeting between him and Bill Moseley. Like there's just that awkwardness among like you know, like you said, this relationship isn't exactly on like solid foundation. They've just been thrown a curveball, and now, you know, Lauren Lavera is like, well, you have to meet my dad. What was it? Was that the first scene that they had filmed together, or what was that like, filming that sequence?
That was the first time that they were on screen together, yeah, at the porch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. So good. You can feel just the unease and the awkwardness of, yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Now, Joe, I want to take it back before the fetus to your cinematic journey almost. Like, what are some of the movies that inspired you to say, "Hey, that's something I want to do"? What are some of those movies you watch where you're like, I want to make something like that?
I mean, The Thing,
Yeah,
I can see
Nightmare on Elm
that.
Street. You know, like,
yeah,
I mean, those, they're just they're both bonkers movies, but they work, which is the
Yeah.
funny thing. There's so many practical effects in those movies, and like I know that it's practical. I know that doesn't exist in real life, but I am so into the story and the characters, because the characters are believing what's happening. I get caught up in it, and I'm just locked in, you know, white knuckles until the end of the movie. I mean, that's the experience I wanted to give to horror fans, and just audiences in general. You know, that roller coaster ride that, you know, you forget where you are until the movie's over. And the great thing is, with our screenings, we've had screenings in, Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, and Los Angeles, and hardly anybody gets up from their seat, you know, and they're just dialed in the whole time. And, like, you know, when you're sitting with an audience, I try to like feel the audience, how they're experiencing it. And I can tell, because the laughs are going through most of the movie, and then once we're getting towards the end and towards the climax, the laughs just stop, and everyone is just frozen in a sense. And
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
exactly what I was going for.
yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah, and that's
rules.
I mean, that's got to be a great feeling as a filmmaker to have your audience reacting that way, of like laughing at the right moments, being invested in the characters and story at the right moments. That's got to be such an awesome feeling. So like that's I mean, again, congrats on the movie. For one, getting a movie made is so hard. We understand that. But to have
Mhm.
an audience react like we have, and like audiences in theater have, I mean, that's got to be an incredible feeling. So I guess a follow up question to that is, for people who have not watched this yet, who have not made it out to like those screenings, like you said, how are people able to watch this and support the film when it comes out?
Our theatrical release is March 7th in select theaters. Um, a lot of it's in Michigan, but if anyone wants to purchase tickets in that area, and if you're not in that area, you can still purchase tickets, and you'll get a digital screening of it 1 month
Nice.
later, after the
Yeah,
theatrical run ends. Just go to thefetusmovie.com. And on top of that, I tend to be very giving. And so we actually have 3 free bonus gifts as a part of buying a ticket, which is, the first one is, there's a entry into a 25,000 grand prize giveaway, where we would fly you and a friend out to the actual location where we filmed the fetus, and you get a bunch of like the creature prosthetics. You're getting some props, actual wardrobe, Lauren Lavera's wardrobe that was worn in the movie. We've got merch, digital merch, signed copies of posters, all sorts of things, books that I'm writing, photo books. And then the second one is a digital products that I've created. So there's like documentary, like I said, digital book, there's storyboards, there's a screenplay, all these like PDFs and drawings. Um, and then the third thing is a postcard, which is featuring Lauren Lavera. We're going to have different rounds of postcards, but this first set is Lauren. You buy a ticket, we're gonna send you a postcard, so you get to just have a little keepsake. And after that, we'll do other characters from the movie as well for postcards for future orders. Yeah, so thefetusmovie.com.
That's awesome. That's cool. It's always neat to see independent filmmakers kind of break the mold on like release strategies and marketing and everything. Speaking of, I mean, I've been cleaning my office out, and literally I just found this today. The fetus condom. So yeah, like is that something that you're like super into? Is the kind of just like out there kind of marketing techniques? Like, what is that something you're pretty passionate about?
Yeah, let me grab the actual box here.
I'll say I have mine sitting somewhere in this office here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually made. You know, I looked at other companies and I'm like, okay, how do they design it? I come from an e-commerce background where I've designed a bunch of products and sold them, and so this is the Fetus 3-pack condom, and it says fetus prevention and STI protection, and it's actually FDA approved. You can actually use it, so it's multifunctional, and
it's got a practical use for it.
Fantastic.
It's because it's related to the story.
Yeah.
And that's why, because the condom breaks in the movie and they have to go, that's how everything starts. But yeah, but like I said, even for my last short film, I made, something like this, which is like a visual storybook, photo book, sorry. And it has all this stuff inside of there. So
I love that.
making something like this for the fetus. And, I've written a few books before. So we're doing a book about the making of the movie, called Delivering the Fetus as well. And it's for filmmakers, it's going to be a great, thing to read, or anyone just wants to know the behind the scenes of what goes on in movie making, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.
We love all that stuff. I love seeing how independent movies are marketing themselves and incorporating unique items that relate directly to the movie. Especially, I have those condoms somewhere in here, and like that's such a great marketing tool. I love it. So, Joe, whenever you continue to make feature films, please continue that type of marketing, because it gets noticed, and people like us weirdos, we love that stuff. So keep it coming.
We'll do. And by the way, if anyone has gone to your followers have gone to any of the horror conventions that we've had, and we've gone to a bunch, like Creep IE, MegaCon, Days of the Dead. We've got Milwaukee. We've got a lot of Days of the Dead coming up. We've had pregnant models at our events with a baby stroller filled with all the condoms, just handing them out. So it's just, people have been saying like, oh, this is like the best marketing I've ever seen in a movie. So, but we want to have fun with it, so,
Yeah.
Love that.
Fun.
Love that. Well, Joe, we're gonna wrap things up with one more question. It's the same question we leave every interview off with, and I'm very curious about the answer to this. Joe, if people are gonna watch The Fetus, what movie would you pair with it for the ultimate fetus double feature?
It would be The Thing.
Yeah. Those practical effects, all the tentacle aspects of it.
Grossness, zaniness, the who's next? Are you it? Or it's just, oh man, nail biting, that movie.
Love it. Yeah,
Amazing.
That's a perfect double feature to have. Joe, thank you again for coming on the podcast. Again, where can people follow you online and follow The Fetus online?
Oh, if anyone wants to follow me, my Instagram is It's Joe Lam, ITS Joe Lam. For the movie, it's The Fetus Film. So it's either at The Fetus Film, # The Fetus Film on most of the platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. So it's all the same.
Awesome.
So cool. Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you again for coming on. Again, congrats on the movie. We can't wait to have audiences watch this around the country, and we're excited to see what you have coming up next. So keep them coming, and thank you again for coming on the pod.
Yeah, appreciate it, Casey. You too, Sam. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Again, people, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and then we're on all the Facebook, Instagram, all the social media platforms that you can find anything else on. But Sam, why don't you go ahead and give us that sign off?
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.